Good afternoon and welcome to week 9 of our Lunchtime Live series here at Chris 180. I'm Chandra Luckett, Director of Marketing and Communications, and today we are excited to bring a larger than ever panel discussion to discuss our COVID-19 outreach and relief efforts in our community. Today we are joined by a panel of my esteemed colleagues who are truly first responders on the front line serving our community more than ever before. They're going to take you behind the scenes of our food and emergency relief distribution efforts here in Atlanta as we reach the most vulnerable populations in our communities. Today, please feel free, as you have in the past few weeks, to ask us questions in the comment section below or leave remarks on Facebook or Instagram. We'll be happy to answer those questions live as we bring you behind our work. So to take it away today, I'm going to toss it over to Cindy. Cindy.
Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Simpson, and I'm the CEO of Chris 180. So one of our responses to the COVID-19 crisis and pandemic has been food distribution. And it really all started because on the west side at the At Promise Center, we've always done meals and we've always done some food distribution. As the pandemic came on, we decided, okay, we had to increase that. So we've put out flyers, and our flyers talk about food distribution. We talk about COVID-19 testing. We also talk about counseling services available. But people were able to call in and sign up for distribution, meaning we could deliver it, or you could come by and get it. So then as we began to look on, we've been doing on this the west side, but we looked at our clientele and where they live, and it came to us to like, wait a minute, we shouldn't do this just for the west side. We needed to then look at all of our clientele. So we began to grow that and decided our best effort would be to include Zone 3, which is Peoplestown, Mechanicsville, and also look at Zone 6, which is where we're actually located, and include DeKalb County residents. So as things have grown, and we've been doing this for the last 5 weeks, we're now serving around 2,000 or 1,275 households. When you look at that, that's way over 3,000 residents or individuals, because you average it for 3 people per family or per household. We deliver to a lot of seniors, and we deliver to a lot of families based on the needs of those families. And anybody can call and sign in. The other thing is that we've really added to that is our staff go out in pairs to deliver the food. And we deliver boxes of food on Tuesdays and Fridays. And the boxes are delivered on Tuesday to get meals through to Friday, and Friday delivery to get through to Tuesday. But the important part, I think the real key, is also our staff delivering, in that they're doing well checks. You go up, you knock on the door, you stand back from the door for 6 feet. Our staff have gloves and masks on. But that's an opportunity for our staff to do a well check. And that has become one of the most important pieces of what we discovered through our food delivery. Because we also know that domestic violence has seen a 27% rise in domestic violence activity, and also child abuse. And just parents are struggling and our youth are struggling. It's hard to stay in your household. So that's how we've begun to do our food distribution and our welfare checks. And it's been a positive, and we continue to grow and continue to have a lot of partners and volunteers that are helping us because food is one of those survival things that we need.
And we'll have the rest of the panel introduce themselves. Alfred?
Good afternoon. My name is Alfred, Garner. I currently work in the Zone 3 area, primarily neighborhood planning and deep, consists of 6 communities in the city of Atlanta. We've been providing a trauma response network in addition to healing circles virtually since we all been shelter in place and quarantined. And we have been working directly with Pittsburgh Community, Peoplestown Neighborhood Association, Summerhill, and communities outside of the PUD, reaching all the way out to Cleveland Avenue, Mount Zion, over in the deeper on the south side of Zone 3. So we've been providing a lot of food, resources for families, a lot of seniors, providing bags and other resources that they may need during this period.
My name is Anthony Bostic, and I'm the program manager of the Drop-In Center and manager of the Distribution Center. The Drop-In Center, we serve homeless and vulnerable emerging adults ages 16 to 26, and we provide resources such as housing, food, employment support services, life skills support services, and therapeutic support services. And they are a particularly vulnerable population right now during COVID because again, they're homeless, so many of them don't have a dedicated place to shelter in place, or they don't have access to other resources. So we're remaining open to begin to continue to provide resources, including the food distribution. On the food distribution side, we've been fortunate enough to have some very unique partnerships with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We work very closely with the food bank and a number of other entities that have provided support, whether it's in-kind or financial, to support this effort for us to be able to serve the thousands of families that Cindy referenced earlier twice a week, and to be able to get them a good selection of food for their families to help them make it through this situation.
Good afternoon, I am Thompson. I'm the program manager for the Promise Center, which is the Atlanta Police Foundation initiative that Chris 180 serves as the lead agency. Traditionally, we are a youth diversion center that offers after-school programming. Once the pandemic hit, we had to look at how can we still service our kids that come to the center and their friends and the community. We're located on the west side of Atlanta. What we have done is organize our center more of a hub that we can get food out to the community as well as to our families. Doing welfare checks with our therapists where they're not just inside the home, they're able to do virtual calls to their clients to still assist them and figure out what the needs of that family are, which helps us as we prepare these meals for them, as well as any health concerns, any stressors that the kids may be dealing with as well. One of the biggest things that Chris 180 has done is taking the initiative with the Promise Center, reaching out to the less fortunate population of the homeless community. And so through our partnerships with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, we've been able to service a lot of undocumented individuals out in the community that are under the bridges in our area, outside of our area, and partnering within the agency amongst Alfred as well as Bostic to ensure that we are covering an array of circumferences around the city of Atlanta to service those that are not getting their needs met as it relates to food distribution and health services.
I want to add to that, AP, because I think what's impressive is our staff are on the front lines. So we're now getting 300 meals a week from Compassion Kitchen, and we are serving 7 homeless encampment areas, and those encampments are growing rapidly. One of the additional needs that those encampments need is water and hygiene kits. The other thing I want to bring up is, here's an example of welfare checks. So we were delivering to a mother and her 3 children and knocked on the door, backed away. One of the younger children came to the door and he was very, you could tell he just had a lot of tension and a lot of stress. Definitely disheveled, and then the mother finally came to the door, and not only was very grateful we were there, but she said, I'm on the verge of killing my 3 children and killing myself. I cannot do this anymore. And thank goodness we were doing that welfare check, because we had a therapist right there on site and was able to give her some immediate help, not only through food, but in immediate counseling services, and also some additional emergency assistance funding to help with her utilities. So that's the importance of doing a welfare check.
And so I want to pivot to AP, because that Promise was the first location to really start this emergency relief effort. How did it come about? How did you start to reach out to people in the community?
The community has embraced the Promise Center, mainly through the youth that we serve. One of the biggest biggest bonuses for us as a youth diversion center is that once we get the kids into the center, Chris 180 works with the entire family. So we're able to assess the needs of that child based on a holistic viewpoint of the family structure. So figuring out if a youth is homeless, you look at behavior, what things are contributing to those behaviors. So for Chris 180, taking that holistic approach and starting with the youth, that would be the biggest contribution to the services that we provide there, as relates to getting food to them, hygiene kits, and then figuring out who the elderly are. You realize that a lot of these kids, a lot of times, are raised by the grandparents, and they don't have the transportation or the means to get to a center. So we reach out to them and take the food to them directly to their doorstep.
So Cindy, my follow-up question is then for you, after seeing the initial outreach at the Promise Center, when did Chris 180 decide to expand that?
That's a good question, because this was a tough decision, because, you know, food distribution is not what we do. That's not in our normal array of services. But obviously there's a major need. So as we began to look at Promise, then we looked at the other zones that we serve, and it made sense. It just made sense that, wait a minute, we can't just focus on one community, because this is a citywide pandemic. And there are hundreds and thousands of people that need this service. So we began by looking at, okay, we're in Zone 3, we're in Zone 6, we're in DeKalb County, and how do we reach out? So we reached out to our clients that we served, and we also began to reach out within the schools that we serve and started getting a list. With then, we have the flyers, and this continues to grow. We started with maybe serving 300 people, or 300 households, and up to 1275, and this is in 5 weeks. And we get calls every day to be added to the list. And we have not said no to anybody, and we won't. And we will go through July, continue the service.
I think inclusive of the families that we're serving in partnership with the DeKalb County Office of Youth Services, we're also delivering foods to about 100 families with children enrolled in K-12 that are living in hotels. Yeah, many of them were living in hotels before COVID. They're living in hotels, you know, during COVID. And if you're living in a hotel, you definitely have limited resources. So to be able to do appropriate food packages for those families to make sure that those children have access to food and resources that are living in hotels is also a big part of this initiative and a part of those numbers.
So who would like to tell me a little bit about what's in that bag? What, is it just one meal, or is it a meal for several days?
We deliver on Tuesdays and Fridays, and the bags vary depending on the donations or the food purchased by Chris 180. So you may have chickens, whole chickens, turkeys. These are full meals that will get families through the next few days. So if you take into account those that get delivered on Tuesday, we give them enough food for that family to last until Friday, which is the next distribution. On Friday, we're giving them enough food to last them to Tuesday. So it can range. As we do it, we find out those who may be vegetarian, so we try to identify those bags and make sure they have plenty of fruits and vegetables that they can eat as well. We find out the number of kids in the household, making sure they have things such as snacks to get them through the day. Healthy items are always in there as well. One of the biggest things that we are hoping to get is beverages. Water is a big need that we see from the community as a feedback for us, and what would they like to see more of. So it can be a number of things, but these are whole meals most times. For the homeless, we make sure that we're giving them food that they don't have to worry about cooking. So a lot of non-perishable items, a lot of pre-prepared meals, boxes that are going to the homeless community as well.
And so I want to pivot this next, go ahead.
With partnerships like with Mercedes-Benz and some other organizations, as well as Super Jenny's, we've been able to get some very nice, high-quality food in there. Really good custom meat. Super Jenny makes an excellent soup that we're able to give out, and so it's not just giving out food, but it's been able to give out really good quality food that families should be able to enjoy.
As well as hygiene kits.
So my next question is for Alfred, and we'll ask everyone this question before we end. We have plenty
time, so please send your questions in. But my question to you is, as you see the deliveries and made deliveries, tell me a story about someone who has been served by us and been a part of this food distribution effort. What has it meant to them?
Food distribution has meant everything, particularly to seniors. You know, I have a lot of seniors on my caseload where we deliver. So we deliver in the high rises, in Mechanicsville, Peopletown, a lot of senior housing. So it's really important for them to be able to get nourishable food, but also, you know, the luxury of having someone to come to the door and bring it to you. For seniors has been very, very important. So, now just a little story, was on the high rise on Hank Aaron at Peopletown, and one of our clients, you know, provided me with a mask. She's making masks inside her home, and I thought that was a cool thing. I wasn't looking for it or anything, but she just wanted to show some level of gratification for receiving the food and resources that we've been providing her. And who knew it was fatigue and camouflage was my favorite. So, you know, I might have told you that, you know, but that's just one of the many stories that folks have just been so gracious. And then we've had the opportunity to have gift certificates from Walmart that we've been able to provide, $35 gift certificates from Walmart to a lot of our seniors. So this way they can not only, you know, receive food, but when they have an opportunity to go out, they can get their cleaning supplies and things of that nature with the gift card. So that's been a big plus for us.
So I'm going to pose the same question in a really short format to Bostic and AP. Bostic, you want to go next?
I think overall we've seen a lot of gratitude with the food. I think one of the extra items that we've been able to add that families have shown a lot of gratitude for has been baby items. And particularly in partnership with Helping Mamas, they've been awesome working with us. But we're able to keep a supply of diapers, some formula, some wipes, some bottles, and a lot of baby clothes that families have been able to request or come in and get. And I think that's been very helpful, especially when it's stuff like baby products and feminine hygiene products you can't buy with food stamps. And so those are things that a lot of families are struggling with, whether waiting for unemployment to kick in or, you know, they're strained financially. Those are necessity items that they can't necessarily afford. So we've had a lot of people show a lot of gratitude when they've been able to get feminine hygiene items and baby items from us at no cost. And again, Helping Mamas has been a great partner with helping us to keep our supply.
For me, I think it's the kids. Their gratitude and excitement when they have a bag coming to their door. For the adults, it's the knowing that somebody cared. Also, I think the biggest thing for Chris 180 is that the outreach that we do, when you meet someone and you tell them where you're from Chris 180, and you say they're at Promise Center, and they're like, well, what is that? What do y'all do? It allows us the time to share some services that we can offer to them. And so we're starting to get calls now of individuals that are needing our services, whether it's therapeutic, whether they want to enroll their youth. One piece we left out was education. And so figuring out who doesn't have Wi-Fi so their kids can continue to do their schoolwork, and Chris provided Chromebooks. And so that was a big plus for a family that we had, to where their kid can stay abreast with their education, their educational needs with what we do. And we wouldn't have known that had we not been doing that outreach. And so that family was very grateful. We look forward to having that youth at our center very soon, and helping that family in the best ways we can. So those are the stories. Our stories are, they kind of intersect with each other with some of the gratitudes that we get. We also get the phone calls of them just saying thank you. And believe it or not, when they call, they're calling and thanking some of the staff on a first-name basis. So that lets you know that Chris 180 is making a tremendous impact in these communities that we are serving.
And we just got a question in from Facebook, and Elizabeth wants to know, and Cindy, I'll pose this to you. What happens when this is all over? What happens with the families we've reached out to and Chris 180?
Well, Chris 180 will continue providing services. We may not provide the food distribution, but what we have now is a lot of contacts, and we've already engaged with these families. So we will continue to provide the services such as behavioral health, such as case management, care coordination, and after-school academics. Not only in At Promise, but in the new At Promise Center that will be over in Zone 3. I think I want to mention not only Chromebooks, but there were tablets, and thanks to Verizon, for those who didn't have Wi-Fi, Verizon donated 40 MiFi cards. And the Chromebooks actually came, 72 of them came from AmeriGroup as a donation to hand out to students. So that's been a big plus as well.
I also think we're giving out information to families about other resources for which they can get needs met. There's a wonderful foodfinder.com website where folks can go on and find food pantries and opportunities to get food near their homes. That will continue to be promoted even after this massive food distribution event. So where we may not continue to meet the need for food the way that we're doing now, we're going to make sure that our clients still have access to food as they need it by referring them to some of the other pantries that hopefully will reopen. A lot closed because of this. So as they reopen, resources are available. And even now doing this, because everybody can't get to us and we can't deliver to everybody, we are offering other resources such as Food Finder, such as United Ways 211, or we just have a booklet in our center where we can give people near you, here's a church or a food distribution site that you may be able to access. So those resources will continue to be promoted even after we may scale down our food distribution needs.
I think the biggest thing is that Chris 180 has identified the ability and the need of the people. Being able to meet those needs doesn't stop just because there's a pandemic. What it did was expose some areas that needed to be focused on that Chris 180 has taken the charge to get out there and take it to their doorstep. And so those services don't stop. It's not a just now scenario. Continuously being out there with our community health workers, continuously being out there figuring out what the need of the people are. And I think that's the biggest thing that Chris 180 has done thus far with this, is taking that charge to get out there and see where these empty pockets around the communities are that were untouched and forgotten, that we've been able to reach and continue those services, whether it be food, whether it be education, whether it be therapeutic behavior services. Most times companies look for people to come to them. Well, what we've done is taken an approach that come to their company. We've taken the approach that we actually go out to the people in the community. So you will still see Chris 180 out in the communities.
But I think you bring up a really good point, AP. I think when I look at Chris 180, what we look at is where are the gaps? And if there's a gap, we're going to figure out how to fill it.
Correct.
So, or we're going to partner with somebody that can help fill that gap.
Yes.
So that's an important thing that we'll do. We'll continue to do that. And even though we're saying food distribution is going to stop at the end of July, it's also going to be based on, that's what we're aiming for, because we're hoping school's going to start come August. But if we can't get it, then we'll have to figure out, guys, we're going to have to keep going.
But I think it speaks a lot to Chris 180 that we, as an agency, are adaptable, and how quickly we were able to see a need, adapt, meet a need, create partnerships, put a system, and the system is getting better every single week. We're making changes to make it better. But the fact that we could be so responsive and engage, how quickly and comprehensive with a lot of partnerships, I just think that speaks to the agency, the capacity of the agency, and our reputation within the community. And hopefully this strengthens that reputation.
Absolutely.
Alfred, did you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. For the Zone 3 area, like we're no stranger to neighborhood plan unit B, but what all of this has done is kind of allow us to create new relationships and foster new relationships with residents and stakeholders in the community. We have a few new programs coming up with the At Promise Center on Metropolitan and Rockwell, and we're going to have Cure Violence in Atlanta coming very, very soon. So nothing fosters a relationship or good conversation with bringing, food to the front door, but also kind of setting the stage and building and strengthening a relationship in the community for future programming. So
All right, so we've got a question from Instagram. Brittany wants to know, how do you take care of yourselves while taking care of others? And we're going to start with Cindy and go this way, and then brief, because we have a few more questions.
Okay, probably not the best one to ask because I'm not very good at it. But I think, you know, that is something that we are concerned about our staff. They're out on the front lines. So what we've tried to do is make it a rotation. So these are the frontline folks and their staff are on front line, but we also have to rotate that. Can somebody work from home today instead? Can somebody stay out today? So, and we're trying to do, and Bostic has great ideas about how do we improve our morale and have some fun. So, because it's hard to do that during a pandemic. And we provide other things for our staff as well, but it's really the downtime and switching off and taking turns is important.
Mine is kind of two-part because I definitely want to provide space to say thank you for providing us with protection equipment as an organization. You know, we just, as an organization for frontline people, just got all of our test results back yesterday for COVID, and everybody was negative. So hats off to kind of practicing safe practices around one another, you know, social distancing, washing your hands, keeping your mask on, and things of that nature. But for me personally, just kind of having balance. You know, part of my job is in the community, so I work from home a lot, but it's more now, and it's almost been somewhat balancing for me, like to kind of infuse personal and professional, because I've always had challenges with that. And so, you know, I find myself doing a lot of things that I neglected, you know, due to just time, you know, so I do a lot of deep cleaning at home. You know, I try to be outside more if I can, and just resting whenever I can. You know, I was just telling AP, my sleep cycle is kind of screwed up right now, but, you know, with all that said, I'm still very conscious of, you know, self-care.
I think from my perspective, I mean, we're social workers and we're human service workers. And a lot of us thrive on making a difference. So I think, one, having the opportunity to still be able to actively make a difference during this pandemic, I think feeds a lot of staff, and being able to come in and volunteer to put the food bags together or sort the bags or deliver the food. A lot of people have expressed a lot of pride in that and enjoying doing that, giving them something to do, giving them a way to contribute to, you know, providing relief during the pandemic, because it's what we do by nature. And so even during the pandemic, there are a lot of us that still want to make a difference, that still want to serve. And this food distribution gives us a meaningful way to continue to serve the families that we have. As previously been said, we do have, you know, masks and gloves that we wear. We, you know, even with our food packing, we try to incorporate social distancing even with that, and model that for our clients. And just keeping a cheerful disposition and trying to keep everything upbeat. And so those are some of the things that we're doing to help just make sure we take care of ourselves so that we can take care of the community.
For me and our team over there at Promise Center, we practice social distancing. We have the supplies that we need. One of the things that we did was not allow the public into our center. So our center is reserved strictly for staff and staff volunteers that come to help prepare the meals. I'm still working on the self-care part. I suck at it because in my mind, as comfortable as I can be with doing things for myself, there is someone that is in need. And so I try to keep that at the forefront, right? I can go home and get in my bed and sleep comfortably. I know what I'm going to eat that night if I want it, but there's somebody who's depending on someone like me to provide them a meal or make the effort to show that they're not forgotten. And so, along with Bostic being in this particular field, you have to have that passion and drive for it, where it's all, most times it's an afterthought as far as me myself. So giving all you can to somebody is the fuel that I have. I'm gonna work on my self-care as much as possible. But staff-wise, like Cindy said, we do allow you to work from home. Our therapists are doing telehealth, so they don't have to see their clients face to face. And we make sure that we sanitize the center and all services quite frequently.
I believe I told you to stay home one day
You did.
and demanded it.
You did.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so
Just want to make that clear to you, buddy.
it was self-care with him.
Right. Good boy.
So I have so many questions that we want to ask, but we're running out of time, and so I think this is probably the second to the last one. And I'm going to ask each of you to remark on this, but 15 seconds. This is not a short-winded group. So for 15 seconds, we get one more question in. And we're going to start with Alfred, but it's one for everyone. In the past 9 weeks of this work that we have been doing, what has surprised you the most? Alfred?
What has surprised me the most, how everybody's come together. How everybody just come together as a team, volunteers, community people. You know, this is something that has affected everybody. You know, so everybody has lended a hand, selflessly lend a hand in some kind of capacity. So is it driving, fixing bags, making phone calls, whatever that looks like, and it's just kind of made it work easier.
What surprised me the most are hearing the comprehensive numbers from Cindy. Like, I know what we're doing out of our center and how many families that we're serving, but to hear the entire number of over 1,200 families that we're touching each week, that's huge, you know, when we really weren't doing this 5 weeks ago. So that's a huge accomplishment, and it's a pleasant surprise to see the difference, you know, that we're making. And then what's always encouraging is just the phone calls that we keep getting, people hearing about it from other people or seeing it on TV or other media outlets where we're promoting it and wanting to be a part of the initiative. And then the lack of complaints has been a pleasant surprise as well, that we're not getting phone calls of people complaining or, you know, of having a lot of issues or problems. So those are some of my surprises.
My surprise actually came from our team. Cindy held a meeting with us when this all started, and as an agency, they were finding ways to accommodate the staff. And she presented to have 2-3 days to work from home, and she asked who would like that. And no staff, if they had promised and opted to take that, they all wanted to still come to work and service their clients and families. So for me, that was my surprise, because I just knew somebody wanted to be working from home. So the teamwork, I think what the biggest thing that came out of this is how just within the agency, that was surprising how we all connected and band together. So you hear different facets, but it's one Chris 180. So we're continuously, consistently piggybacking off each other, chipping in, whether it is Bostic's team doing the food pickup and dropping it off, or our team delivering something to them and getting extra drivers to assist our new community where the new Thompson will be. So those things that are surprising, that just came second in. I was 20 seconds, not 15, sorry.
Mine will be very quick, because you all said it. It was interesting to see it was the west side versus the east side versus the south side, you know, and it was all separate departments. And the food distribution in this pandemic has brought us all together into one project. We're going to make it successful, and we're really communicating and working together more than we ever have before. So that has been really good to see.
Yeah.
It's been great.
So my final question is for Cindy, and it is, let's think about what happens a month from now. How will we continue to do this work even once the self-imposed shelter-in-place people are stopping to do that and stopping social distancing? But we all know that the need is continually great in the community. So what will we do?
So, and actually, you know, I've been asked that question. That's what I said earlier. Our goal is to stop at the end of July. I doubt if that's going to happen. It really depends on the schools. But our services and the food distribution will continue. Just because the social distancing has stopped, that doesn't mean we're going to stop, because food is going to continue to be a crisis. And economically, we may be recovering from the virus, but it's going to take years to recover from the economic problem we've got. And people are going to need our help. And people are also going to need our help not only with food, but some of the behavioral health issues and the trauma that families have endured during this time, and our children. So we'll continue to do what we do and be out there on the streets as we always are.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us for week 9 of our Facebook and Instagram Lunchtime Live series. Thank you so much to my colleagues who are doing amazing work in the community, reaching out to those in need and really stepping up to the plate. As Cindy and the team have mentioned, we have so many partners who have engaged with us through this effort. And we know many of you are looking for ways to invest in the community at this time. The easiest way you can support our work is by going to chris180.org today and giving a donation. $5, $10, $15, $20, or $2,000 will help go so far as we reach out to the community in need and be able to buy those essential food items that each one of us truly needs in this time period, and so many need more than others during this time. Additionally, we have other resources available for people who are in need, and whether you need food resources or mental health resources, Chris 180 is here to help. You can go to chris180.org to figure out how you can participate in our food distribution work and get a delivery or pick up food for you and your family if you are in need. Additionally, we've launched online support groups where you can have conversations with people who are also going through some really hard times. We have groups that just launched this week for adults, parents, caregivers, children, and those in college who are dealing with difficult situations. You can also go to chris180.org to find out how to become a part of those support groups. Additionally, we also have a blog full of resources on how to deal with mental health challenges coming through this time. There's everything from finding structure to learning how to gain balance and productivity during this time. As you all know, Chris 180 is here for you, like we have been for the past 40 years, and we will continue this work on the ground with your support. Please be back here next week at 12:30 for another edition of our Lunchtime Live. Thank you all so much for joining and staying a little while longer with us today. Have a great week.